Hello. Bonjour. Guten Tag. Ni hao. Hola. Let me just check if everything's all right. Everything all right? Apparently we're live. That's what it says here. Apparently. It working? You guys seeing me? I got an error, and I don't know why. I guess you guys are seeing me. So, hello there. Yeah, it seems okay. I don't know why. I got some weird error. But it seems it's fine. Okay. Who cares? You know, Google errors. What the hell does Google know about, doing stuff? Hey, everybody. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. Okay, let me just make sure everything's all right. I'm going to put this streaming here. I'm going to put this here. Move the chat on that side. And, move this window here on this side. And I guess we're going to be just fine. Dee-dee-dee. Oh, man, Vince. I dropped a hint last night when I said something might be happening today. So, hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. This is a special. Let's try not to talk about whatever is happening in the world and listen to the radio, tune around, and just have fun. How about it, guys? And there's a pirate called Sicko Radio on 4099 Upper Sidemain right now. That is a little weaker, but it was there with some Def Leppard a little earlier. So hello, everybody. Nice to have you on board. And yes, this is the special edition. Let's try not to talk about COVID-19 and just have fun. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was like, well, this is usually my night out with the guys having beer at a bar. There's no night out with the guys, and there's no bars. So what else can you do? Well, let's do a live show. That's pretty much what I thought. Let's be with the other guys and girls. My second bar, kind of. So cheers. I've got a vodka and 7-Up, and because I didn't have cranberry juice, I have blueberry juice. So cheers, everybody. And I think I put a little too much vodka in it, so I might be a little drunk at the end of it. But anyways, you guys are used to it. So, hey, everybody, welcome aboard. This is a show dedicated to everybody out there that is having a hard time, that is in a position of anxiety, of feeling maybe isolated, alone, and you just aren't able to get your mind off whatever is happening around you. This afternoon I went out for a walk, 3 hours. There's a park where I actually did a couple of videos with radios, and it's maybe half an hour walk from here. There's a lot of people there. I was surprised. I never seen as many people there, and it was obvious that the fact that everything's closed, and they actually shut down even more today. Here, they shut down shopping centers. They shut down. So they said the schools, the shopping centers, almost anything that is unnecessary is shut down at least until May 1st. And anybody that has a party with more than 10 people, you can actually call the cops, and the cops are going to go and fine them $1,000 for an illegal party. You know, it's almost weird. Like it's almost like, a weird communist country or something. I don't know. It's so weird what's happening. So this show is dedicated to all of this. It's dedicated also in the spirit of let's get our minds off of it and let's play around with our radios. Let's talk radio, answer questions about radio, and just have fun. Okay? So tonight, we talk about it as minimal as possible. I understand that some of you will want to, verbalize, will want to get it out a little bit, saying, hey, you're alone and that's fine. But let's keep it at that, and let's not extend the conversation. Let's just get our minds to radio and having fun. And you know what? Let's think about this as a great big bar tonight that we're all in the same spot, but in different places around the world. And we just are having fun and changing our minds of whatever's happening. And I, once again, I want to just say that I am with you guys, all of you out there that are struggling, because some of you are struggling more than others. And I think it's time to, be as much as we can together in these moments of, and the internet, YouTube, live shows, shortwave radio, all of that together. I think it's a fantastic way of just, being together while not officially being together. So welcome, everybody. Special Sunday night / Monday morning, depending where you are in the world, edition of the Shortwave Radio live show. And I hope you'll enjoy tonight. There's a beautiful chat room here. If you have a Gmail account, why not join in? And there's also our Facebook group, the official SWL channel Facebook group. Elizabeth is here saying hello to everybody. She really enjoys this show that is totally she says she really didn't expect this live show tonight, and she's actually thrilled that it happens. And I welcome everybody tonight. So official SWL channel is the Facebook group that everybody is having fun with, and these times, you know what, let's just listen to the radio. But you know what, listen to the radio for something else than just regular news, because it's the news channels all the time. It's enough to go crazy. It's enough to go crazy in the normal time. So imagine in these times how it's even more difficult to cope. And some of us are more. We're not all the same. Some of us have more anxiety than others in these times. It's time that we all pull together and just be a big, great gang of amazing people that are having fun, trying to forget all of it. Bobby Burgess, WA 5107 SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. Bonsoir. Hello there. Brett Wayne, nice to have you here. Randy in Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Matt in Colorado. Scott Lambert, nice to have you here from Tennessee. The Expeditions from Ottawa. Hello there. Christian Ferland, nice to have you here. Patrick Manny, hello there. Nice to have you here. Christian Ferland, do you see me? Cool. It's working. Cool. because it's so weird. I got this weird error message, so I was like, are people seeing me or not? So Joe Samdaniuas from Brazil, nice to have you here. Chuck Yunkin, nice to have you on board. And David, KJ4CMY. Mark Fisher from Southern Illinois, nice to have you here. Kimberly, we're in California, nice to have you on board. Vince Perrault was expecting that random show. You the man. Nice to have you here, Vince. Toujours un plaisir, mon gars. Michael Anger, nice to have you on board. Aaron Mitchell, nice to have you here. JD Williamson, nice to have you here. Today's figures. Hello. Hello. David, KJ4CMY says, I've got to get my external antenna up. Have a night out with us. Yes, absolutely. You need to finish that setup. Indy Packrat, nice to have you here. WA8250SWL. And snowy Sunday night in South Bend, Indiana. Really? Wow. We're supposed to have snow tomorrow. Today was cold. It was kind of cold. I went out for that 3-hour walk, but there's a little wind. It was kind of chilly. But it was a lot of fun. It was kind of nice, kind of weird at the same time with all the people there. It's interesting because I was walking on the sidewalk and people were actually avoiding to meet up with me. They would change side of the street so that they don't have to meet me, which shows you how we are at a point where everybody's now just taking careful precautions of not being too close to others. I actually talked to a girl there that had a really nice dog. And, I kept my distance, but you could see that she wasn't comfortable with having a conversation with somebody she didn't know. And not because she didn't know me, just because at this time it's kind of weird. Radioactive, nice to have you here. Jeff King, nice to have you on board. Ever try that with grape soda? No, I never. I'm sure. You know what? I had grape soda in the past, long time ago though. Grape soda. I think I haven't had grape soda in like 30 years. I think I was in my. I probably was almost a teenager when I had grape soda that last time. But you know what? It probably would be good. Anyways, I like the fact, okay, it's vodka and it is a alcoholic drink, but I like the fact that there's real juice in it. It's kind of, I don't know. Vodka and real juice must be good. Has to be good for your health. But cheers, everybody. John Pickney, nice to have you here from Virginia, W3XWT. Ron Deming, cheers. Andy Coley, nice to have you here, 2E0REE. Mika Delmich, nice to have you here. Yes, well, you know what? So of course we all listened to it, me and Sheldon and so on, because we wanted to see how it would be, and actually it wasn't too bad. And I actually have a box here that I will be sending Sheldon tomorrow. I have a USB headset and microphone that I used to use for YouTube videos, which will greatly improve Sheldon's voice on the recording. So now it's pretty much official. What we are going to do is me and Sheldon will be recording the International Radio Report Show on Friday afternoons at 1 p.m. I'll be sending it to CKUT, and they'll be playing it on Sunday morning. I know a lot of people appreciated the fact that we decided to continue and have a recorded show that we send out, because I know that a lot of it's interesting because it's, you ask people all the time, are you listening to the show? And we know people are listening. We know there's a certain amount of people listening in, but we don't actually always know, how many are actually listening in. We don't have these numbers. But in times like this, when the first news that came out was, well, you know what, we're going to take a break from the show. And we saw the first wave of comments coming in. It was like, yeah, but, you could do reruns. You could do, yeah, I understand. But International Radio Report has news of what's happening now and in the future, and not far in the future, because we are a weekly show. It's what's happening in the next week, basically, and what's happening now. So if we rerun, you're going to hear news from, 2 months ago or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. That's why I came back to Sheldon and I said, you know what? Can you give me a little bit of time to see how I can set up for us to meet up on Skype and actually do the show? Because and he came back and said, yeah, sure. And because I thought, I don't want to have the International Radio Report on hiatus. I don't know, something's not right about that, and especially it's been there for what, 33 years. Let's show the world that nothing will stop the International Radio Report. I think it's a great thing. And so with the headset, Sheldon will sound much better next week. And we will have better sound, and I think it's going to be great. And I know tomorrow on the at CKUT, she was actually, and it was showing, she was actually very happy that we actually took the time to pre-record a show. Because I think, first of all, she's probably kind of going crazy trying to fill up the schedule of CKUT, because a lot of the shows there probably will have no reruns, no nothing to show, except let's try to find something to put on the air. And it's interesting because when she asked me, when I sent the show, she asked me, can you do a little paragraph of, roundup of what we're talking about this week, so she could put it on the website. And I did a little rundown, a couple of phrases of what we were talking this week. And she came back like, wow, this is great. And it was like, wow, okay, this is really cool. And I think she really appreciates the fact that we definitely are having a show. And I know you guys have been great support, and I don't know how to set it up. I mean, when I said, hey, Sheldon, let's maybe do something, I was sitting in front of my computer like, what the hell? How the hell am I going to do that? I never did anything like that. And we started checking out, and I installed Audacity for the recording. And, how can I drive all the sounds of I don't have a console here. That's also something. When you have a console, you can drive the sound of everything through the console and it gets to your computer. I don't have a console. And I had to have all of that audio from everything going into Audacity as we do the show. So that was kind of a little, okay, how do I do that exactly? And, I with my knowledge and computers and everything, figured out something. And I think it's nice, and it's going to be even better next week. So thanks everybody for the support. I think it's really nice to have everybody here. No toilet paper in Pennsylvania, apparently, and in Virginia and South Carolina. I went to the dollar store this afternoon because when I came back, I needed a few things. I went to the dollar store. First thing that I was a little scared is the dollar store was full of people that were all like this close to each other. And I was like, isn't that kind of not a good thing? And it's funny because they had everything I needed, but that little section of toilet paper, the shelves were empty. And I was like, what is with people in toilet paper exactly? Weird. Matt had winds pick up unexpectedly and take down his G5 RV. Oh, really? Snapped the coax right in two. Fortunately, I had some more and got everything back up. But I was irritated that with no warning. Oh, man. Always sad. Always sad when that happens. Jeff King's, I'm sitting around the fire with his C Crane Shortwave. Ready to go. Cool. Radioactive says, been having a good time keeping my mind off the fear today. Took my DMR radio and worked out in the garden greenhouse. Cool. That's cool. WP4OSQ. Just arrived from Maryland. FT817ND is QRP, which is low power. David just got on my regular Sunday night 2-meter net. Have been reading about World War II on the internet. Always have something to do. There's a lot of things to do. And on the internet, there's a lot of things to listen to watch. Totally free of charge. That is anything else than what's happening in this world. Larry Massey, nice to have you on board from Arizona. Ron Deming, stay home and relax. Tune in. Absolutely. Crittenden Tuttle 4. Hey. Radio Telescope, you're a beacon in the dark. I like that. A beacon in the dark. Mark Cope, nice to have you here. WA5153SWL in Dallas, Texas. John Pickney, nice to have you on board. Trying some medium wave DXing last week while in South Carolina. Interesting stuff in the 1610 to 1710 kilohertz range. Darren Pierce, nice to have you here from Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne always, for me, it strikes a bell of Radio Australia that I miss so much. Nice to have you here from the other side of the world on a Monday morning. Icadarius, good evening. Nice to have you here. Listening to 5025 Radio Rebelde in Cuba. And I remind everybody that there's still a pirate on 4099 upper sideband. Vodka and prune juice, I'm sure must be good. And then in the next day, you have a lot of time on the stall. DJ Calquito, nice to have you here, DJ Calquito. Listen to 20 meters and was full of ham. There's a lot of activity, actually. A lot more activity on the ham bands. Absolutely. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth. Ray in Clayton, North Carolina. Nice to have you on board. And he says he's great to be happy with his radio friends. Doing well. Hope you are all too. Cool. Jerry Markkanen. Nice to have you here from Finland. And it's Monday morning over there. Melvin Witcher. Nice to have you here. Really cool. John Pickney. Oh, diabetes. Yeah. Diabetes is a unfortunate thing. Yeah. If it's controlled, you can have a little bit, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful with beer. Beer has a lot of sugar. Beer is the worst you can have. Brett Wayne says this show is going viral. Yeah. Oh, God. Angela Sherrill. Nice to have you here, Angela, from North Carolina. Glad I'm on tonight. Well, I'm glad to be here. Alan W. Nice to have you here from Ireland. Yes, please stay safe. Lynn Crosby. Hey there. Nice to have you here. Hey, Julien. Nice to have you here from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Cool. VT Radio from Essex Junction, Vermont. Paul, AA1SU. Just finished working the Virginia QSL party at 0UT. Just in time for the show. Brian Weitenheimer, nice to have you here. Ecadaria says, move to Texas. It's bipolar. Ron Deming, nice to have you here. WWVH 15 megahertz from Hawaii. Some fading, but he's hearing it in the Oregon coast. John W., nice to have you here from East Tennessee. And I'm happy to be here. WP4OSQ 5085, which is WTWW. Brian Penny, what a treat. Show on Sunday evening. Just listening to Sicko Radio on 4099. And I'm happy to be here, Brian. I thought it'd be a great moment to take our minds off of whatever. Matt, Radio Nacional Amazona, 11780. Let's check it out here. Oh, man, it's really strong, too. Really good. With some music. Radio Nacional Amazona, 11780. John Pickney says, it like everybody. Ron Deming got a good signal from Radio Nacional Amazonia, Brazil. David, continuing your CKUT show does help bring a sense of normalcy. We adapt and not only survive. Yeah. Mark Stevens, nice to have you here. Pleasant surprise. Very cool people. Absolutely. Larry, nice to have you on board. Quiet in Georgia. Sure, it's pretty much quiet everywhere. Brett Wayne, drinking cranberry grape juice. I have to go to work in the morning, so no beer. Perfect. That's okay. Sarah Mason, nice to have you here. Good evening. Live from Canada, it's Sunday night. John Pickney, en vue de Montréal. C'est dimanche soir. En direct. We need to say en direct de Montréal. Hecadarius has toilet paper, but he's not sharing. Man. Reminds me of that Seinfeld episode when Seinfeld has when Jerry Seinfeld has his girlfriend, and she ends up in in a restaurant. I think they are. She ends up in the stall, and Helene has to go, but she has no toilet paper, and she says, "Can you spare some toilet paper?" And the girl in the stall that she doesn't know is her girlfriend says, "I can't spare a square. I'm sorry, I can't spare a square. No squares to spare." Oh man, Matt, Sunday night is 2-meter net night in a lot of places. Yeah, it is. Even here, we got a couple of nets on Sunday nights that are once a week. It's like that. Let's end the weekend in amateur radio or something. Lots of toilet paper in Salamanca, New York. Let's go and raid Salamanca, New York. Everybody, toilet paper in Salamanca. Let's go. Man. Alex Kovalenko. Nice to have you here from Sacramento. Murray Stevens. Jill Beacon is that bright light for all of us. You guys. Come on. Sir Squally Wally, nice to have you here. I have a 901 to a wire going outside attached to his aluminum gutter and am achieving great results. The gutter is about 20 feet long. Cool. Nice to have you here from Illinois. And Mitchell from Washington State. Really cool. John McClure, nice to have you on board. Jojo, greetings says for all the beautiful people. Just woke up from a nap. Awesome. Listening to your show. KM6EHD in California. Nice to have you here, Jojo. David was reviewing his Shortwave QSL collection. Most of the stations I have cards from are no longer on the air. I have to get QSL cards from some of the existing stations. Well, you know what? I think this is the time to do so. If you are looking for something that is, going to keep your mind off all of this, why not add a side to the hobby that you don't usually have? Never had and never tried QSL collecting before? Why not, sit down, listen to your favorite stations? And it has an amazing purpose also at the same time. Is not only do you have fun collecting QSLs, it's also at that time a perfect moment to just go and tell your favorite radio station, you know what? I listen to you guys and I love your show and I love your programs because, it's something that we need. They need to know people are listening in. And if you are writing to them, don't forget, if you ask for a QSL card, don't forget to tell them how you like the shows, what do you like, what do you listen to, and so on. And it's, if you've never done that, why not? All you got to do is write to them via email or snail mail. It's to listen in. You give them the time, the frequency, the signal level. You will tell the date, of course. You will tell them at least 15, 20, 25 minutes of program details so that they can prove that you were listening for real. And don't forget, one of the best things and the what you need to do when you ask for a QSL, because let's face it, you are writing to ask for something. At least give them something back, and that something back is giving them that feedback of what you like, and tell them how much, how often you listen to the show, and tell them that shortwave is important and they need to keep it. It's I think it's important. It's more important than ever to do this, so that they all know. And in this time, I mean, we have a lot of us have more time on our hands now. Maybe it's time to do so, and just like, okay, I'll let everybody know I'm listening. And don't forget, if you send an email, and that's a mistake of a lot of people, because I listen to mailbag shows sometimes, and a couple of weeks back, I was listening to the Voice of Turkey. They were reading a letter from someone in the United States, and some broadcasters will send you a EQSL, which is basically a JPEG, an image, in attachment in your email. But a lot of stations, actually, most of them will send you a paper QSL. But for that to happen, when you write to them, you've got to give your full postal address. It's funny because I got an email once from someone saying, "Well, I don't want to give my postal address." And you know what? I don't understand why. It's like, you're writing to Radio Romania. What the hell do you want them to do with that postal address exactly? I'm that kind of baffled me. It was like, well, you're not going to get a QSL if you don't give your full postal address, because that station sends paper cards in your mailbox. And it's like, what do you have to hide not giving your postal address? I mean, it's not like giving your postal address here in the chat room for everybody to see. I understand you don't want to do that. But you're writing a big station somewhere around the world. What are you going to do? They're going to send people to kill you at your home or something? I don't get it, So I was like, well, you got to give your postal address if you want to have QSL, because a lot of them don't have EQSLs. And I kind of, wrote that person back with, well, if you're running the Voice of Turkey, what are you scared of? What will Voice of Turkey do to you because you gave your postal address? I mean, I don't get it. I get it. You don't want everybody to know it, but I don't get it why you don't give it to a big station that's halfway around the world. I mean, they're like, yeah, they're gonna send somebody at your home or what? I've given my address to thousands of stations over the years, thousands, and I mean, nothing ever happened. I'm still here. I guess it's okay. Nobody, and I sent a lot of letters in the times of the Cold War. People could have just showed up at my address and I disappear somewhere. I don't know. So come on, relax a little bit. I there are times when I see comments or people like that. I'm like, really? Why? I don't get it. And so that was happened. The guy, he was reading the letter, the Voice of Turkey, and said, "Well, we'd like to send you that QSL you're asking for, but we don't have your postal address, so we don't know where to send it." Yeah, don't forget. So there are things like that you can do, and that will be something new. Add something new to your hobby. Take the time if you're off work. Why not take the time to do something you never did before? Maybe you never decoded digital modes. Maybe it's something you'd like to see. Somebody the other day was watching my weather picture that I posted from the Boston Weather Facts station. And he said, "Oh, that's something I got to do soon." Well, you know what? If you got all of that time on your hands, why not do it now? Why not take the time to understand how you can do it, how to set up, download the software, and tune around and find those digital signals? I think it's now's the time. If you have all the time on your hand, start something new from the hobby you love. And it's not just in times of like this. It goes with, I don't know how many times I've been asked, you've been listening for 38 years. How do you not get bored? I don't get bored because I add something new to my hobby regularly. Regularly, I see something new, I see something different, and I go and I'm like, hey, I want to try that. I never did that before. That adds to your listening experience. That adds to the fun. When somebody tells me in the Facebook group or whatever, you know what? I decoded my first digital signal today. I mean, how excited were you? It is cool when you see that text or that picture or whatever appear on your screen. You're like, this is so cool. I'm getting a signal from another part of the world. I'm actually using that signal and with my computer actually making sense of what it is. It's just really cool when you think about it. So, David says, great reason to put the shortwave receiver on. Absolutely. Kadaria, 6 toilet paper rolls of Charmin on eBay for $49. If somebody buys that, the biggest idiot in the world. That's all I'm going to say. Chuck Yunkin says, Tony's beer has no sugar. Huh, okay. DE2TRF, 5982.9. 5982. Anything here? I don't have anything on 5982 here. But you're in Germany, so maybe somebody in Europe. You guys in Europe hearing something on 5982.9 AM? Danny Shortwave Radio DX. Nice to have you here. Yes, I guess most of us are okay. We're going to continue like that. We got to continue like that. 5940. Do I have something here? Don't really have anything on 5940 here. Jeff Barrett, nice to have you on board. Decided for no particular reason to stay home for the next few weeks. I think I'll keep my daughter home for a few weeks too. No particular reason. Thanks for the show. So stay safe. There's Matt says, wish he had invested in the stock of B-Day manufacturers. Oh, man. What do I want to say here? I was reading an article on shortwavelistening.com that they were all of the major shortwave receivers that were in production or going into production are delayed several weeks. So that new Ethon receiver, that new big Grundig Ethon receiver, the Texan PL990, the H501, all delayed several weeks. That means what you see when you buy it from Alibaba or whatever, AliExpress, is probably the Chinese version that isn't updated with new firmware and new electronics. So you got to be careful not to buy it right now, I think. Louis, nice to have you on board from Los Angeles. Nowhere to go. Pretty much like here. You go outside for a walk. That's pretty much it. or or you go outside for to go to the grocery, David, 108, 113, 114 now, watching for an unscheduled program. So, good night, 73, John Pinkney. I just finished some chicken fajitas just before the show, so I'm all full. Sarah Mason studying for her ham general license to pass the time, and I really want to. Yeah, absolutely. Once again, you're not a ham radar operator. You have all the time in your hand. Maybe it's time to get that ham license. I think why not? Why not? I think this is a pretty good idea. Sears Quali Wally's been spending time learning Morse code. Cool. Harry Goodman, KD9FCZ from Illinois, studying for his general class. Cool. Big Mac Cam. How long before shortwave stations are having to temporarily close down or, at the very least, move to pre-recorded repeat broadcasts? I realize it will return, but is this a good time to start QSLing? Well, there's staff there, and a lot of the broadcasters are, governmentally owned, and most of them still continue. There's a slowdown, that's for sure, but well, why not? And if you send that report, and right now is not the time, that letter is going to be there, and when they do get back, they're going to start checking it out, and they're going to start sending those QSLs. So anytime is a time. But I understand what you mean. Yes, some stations are, are kind of like, look at Radio Exterior de España. They are kind of slowing down because of all of this. Don't forget, for the CW practice, there's a W1AW Morse code at different speeds that they do every day, that you can check it out. So, Jeff Barrett, should you include a couple of stamps for most stations, most big gun stations? You don't really need to. If you write Radio Romania, no need for that. But if you write smaller stations, that could be a good idea. So, unused stamps from the country you're sending that report to is not a bad idea. Reminds me of when I used to be DXing the African countries that were back in the early 90s. There's still a lot of African countries on shortwave, and I would enclose $1 or $1 or $2 US in the envelope. Yeah, Matt, probably. HNX Media, nice to have you here. Stan Nickel, nice to have you here from the Windy City. Oh God, yes, Chicago. I was about to say it anyways, but yep, Windy City, Chicago. Yarabamba, what is next? Daily shortwave shows? I don't think they're going to be daily, and I don't think they're going to be every Sunday. Okay, so don't go overly enthusiastic here. But I'm happy to be here tonight, that's for sure. Hey, Darius, haven't mailed a reception report in years. D-John, nice to have you on board. Watch your videos about your QSL collection. I really enjoyed them. I put them all together in a YouTube playlist so that they can be found easily. I have so many people telling me about my QSL collection videos. So for those that don't know, all of my QSL cards, pretty much all of them, not all, but a big chunk of them, I have videos where I look at each QSL, and some of them have stories because some of them, for some reason, came in. When I met Mickey Delmage in Montreal a couple of weeks back, we were talking about that, having a memory with a QSL card, a letter. And it's like, I remember Voice of Nigeria. I got it in February. It was a QSL card, and there was a magazine, and it was a snowstorm day. I remember that. I remember the reception report I had done on the phone with my best friend, Jean-Pierre, that also had a shortwave radio. We had both mailed our letters together in the same mailbox on the same day. And he never received anything. And I got my QSL and my magazine. And he was so mad. I remember he was so mad that he says, I'm going to write them a letter to tell them what I think. I said, well, haven't you thought about the fact that maybe for some reason, our letters got separated somewhere in the mail, and maybe they never got it? Or maybe they sent you something, but mine arrived and yours got lost or something. There's so many things that can happen. And, the other thing about that is, don't expect them to owe you anything. No stations owe you anything. So just be polite. Because if there's no QSL after you write to them, they don't owe you one. Okay? Don't get mad. They don't owe you anything. Just be grateful that you have a QSL or whatever correspondence from them. But there are so many QSLs in my collection that have memories. Almost every station, I can tell you which one is the first ever QSL I got from that station. It's something you never forget. One story that I have is with KBS World Radio. Back then was called Voice of Korea, Radio Korea. Sorry. So you guys can get it mixed up easily because today Voice of Korea is North Korea, and that was at that time that was called Radio Pyongyang, and KBS World Radio today was called Radio Korea in the 80s when I was QSLing them. So my first ever QSL card from Radio Korea, the story behind it, I was at home because there was a teacher strike. So I went to school in the morning, but there was a teacher strike, so I came back home. No school today, which made me very happy first. So I came home and was like, hoo-hoo, no school today. 2 was, hoo-hoo, no school in shortwave radio today. And 3 was, I opened the mailbox when I got back home. And in the mailbox was my first ever letter from South Korea, Radio Korea, with a QSL card, a schedule. I still remember, I have the image in my head of a yellow envelope, and they had these little circle things with a string that you had to unwind or whatever. So there was a little string that was holding that together. And I remember it was the first time I had an envelope like that. I was like, oh, this is so weird. They have a little string to, unattach or attach the letter together. It's so weird. And I still remember that day. It was like, not only was I happy of not having school, I was darn happy because I had a Radio Korea QSL card in my mailbox. There are memories like that I'll never forget. I remember coming home, having a really bad day at school of all the things that weren't going right, and coming home, and I had a huge envelope, and it was orange, which was very unique. I never seen, and I never had, anyways, any other station ever send me a orange envelope, you know. And I remember I saw the orange envelope. It was big. I was like, "What's that?" Had a lot of stuff in it because it was thick. I took it, turned it around. I looked, and it said Radio Austria. And in the envelope, there was all the technical details of the antennas, all the antennas at the transmitter site, the type of antennas, the rotatable antennas, the power they used. It was very technical, and it was super cool. I was like, oh man, look at all the technical details of their shortwave transmitters. So it's like, wow, that, there's so many stories like that. And when I go back to the cards and I look at the cards, I got tons of stories with those cards. My first QSL card from Radio RSA, South Africa. I am at my sister's. She lived in Belleuil, which was in the southeast part of Montreal, on the south shore of Montreal. And she lived there. She had a home or a house there at the time. So she was a ham radio operator. Some of you know, I told you. So, of course, when we would go there, often my parents would play cards. So she was with her husband, and my parents would play cards with her and with her husband. And what I would do is I would look at them and say, I would look at my sister and say, "Can I go and tune the ham radio?" And she was always like, "Yeah, you can go down to it was in the basement." And so, "Yeah, you can go tune the radio." And I remember I was tuning the radio, and I had never heard before. I was in the 31 meter band, and I heard that interval signal that was very unique for Radio RSA. And for those that don't know what that is, just to give you guys a little something on that. So Radio RSA, of course, was this interval signal here. So while I'm tuning, that's what I'm hearing, and I'm like, "What's that? That's weird. You got guitar and the birds, and what is that?" And the broadcast started. And it was like, "This is Radio RSA in South Africa, in Johannesburg, South Africa." And I made a reception report that night, and I put it in my jacket. And the next morning, I put it in an envelope, put a stamp, put it in a mailbox. And I don't know, I don't remember how long it took, but I remember getting my first Radio RSA QSL card from that moment. There's a lot of little things like that. What else do we have? Larry Stevens from Newark, Ohio. Nice to have you on board, and I'm happy to be here tonight. M. Phillips, nice to have you here from Illinois. Sears Quali Wally, noticed that the shortwave radios have gone up this week. Texan 880 went up 25 on Amazon. Oh, really? Wow. Harry Goodman, where am I from? I am from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Ecudaria switched to 4765, which is also Cuba. Glenn, nice to have you here. Glenn Zeckman from Tennessee. Let's try to pick up a little bit. So yeah, a lot of people are enjoying my QSL collection videos. I get regular mail from like, "Oh, that's so cool," and the stories behind them and all of that. John Heppelston, a Kenwood R2000 in for repairs. Just picked you up on a computer. Cool. Randy, let's have you here. Darren Pierce was thinking this could be a good time to learn CW as well. Yeah, it's like learning a language. You got to take the time. Matt says, I have to say, getting licensed helped me a lot in the past couple of years. I really love shortwave broadcasting stations, but really terrific ones are getting more scarce. Getting on the air myself has been a lot of fun. Cool. Mad Radio DXer, self-isolation for 7 days, as I had a suspected fever almost 2 days ago. So far, I'm better. No other symptoms. Cool. Yeah, when you don't know, it's better to play safe. Absolutely. Fast Eddie, VE3KRP, nice to have you here, my friend. Maglone, nice to have you on board. Mark Stevens, nice way to close on my weekend. Because we're live. Pretty cool. Michael Langer, nice to have you here, says sent $1 too. Any background? I'm still learning, but can someone explain volmets to me? I'm reading Gilles' column in Messenger and I'm confused. I have ventured into the utility portion of the shortwave. So a volmet is a weather station for aeronautical purposes. So if you tune, for example, right now, if you tune 5505 upper sideband, so I'm hearing the one from Shannon in Ireland. It's coming in right now. So a volmet is a station that gives out weather reports for the different airports where planes will land or where planes come from. So volmets are there to inform a pilot of the weather conditions every hour of a certain airport. So that's what they are for. So there's a few of them on the air. Shannon 5505. There's 5450, which is a military one, which is the Royal Air Force from the UK. There's one in Trenton, Ontario, which is 6754 and 15034, which are vomits here in Trenton, Ontario, Canada. You've got Gander, which is right now, probably should be right now, 6604. Yep, it's there. So 6604. This is, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but this is Gander and Newfoundland, Canada, giving weather conditions from the different Canadian airports. So that's what volmets are. Volmets are weather stations that give weather reports of the different airports around a specific country, for example. Your own cars and sending them out. Well, it's so if you want to have your QSL to send them out for a ham radio purposes, for example, you can go to a printer and have them printed out. Or there's a lot of services today. There's different ways that to kind of lower the cost of all of this that it's done. And there's a lot of stations. You know, it's costing so much today to send out letters and print stuff that a lot of hams and a lot of out there, a lot of people either use EQSLs or will just not participate in that at all. Icadarius used to listen to Voice of Russia World Service. The deranged war tomato. I'd hate to meet a deranged war tomato. Nice to have you here. Where are you from, deranged war tomato? What else do we have? Yeah, they're only one way. Absolutely. Only one way. What else do we have? The Range War Tomato. Do you know there's some, not many satellites that will send a QSL card for reception reports? Last one I received was Max Value said, yeah. Depending on the group that actually made the satellite and all of that, it is absolutely possible. Absolutely. Like utility stations, we're talking about the volmets that have weather reports. A lot of them have QSL cards. I got one from Shannon Volmet that I was talking about earlier. Jay Lyle, nice to have you here from Southern Illinois. Sidvik, nice to have you here from Gander, Newfoundland, as we were listening to Gander Volmet here. Francisco Garcia, nice to have you here from Zacatecas, Mexico. Cool. Nice to have you here. Almesa, nice to have you on board. And what else do we have? David says, I got my ham license because shortwave stations were getting more scarce. I had to have some radio-related hobby. Then I found out how much fun ham radio was. Cool. Matt says, you really want to ask yourself where you want to transmit and how you'll do it. Indie talkies are portable, which is great, but they're limited in power. Dr. Reginaldo, nice to have you here and stay safe. You too, my friend. What is that strong signal near 6604 DRM? Nope, that's not DRM. That's some kind of I don't know what. Honestly, where some say it's a radar type thing. I don't know. But it's not DRM. Not at all. It sounds, if you click on it, it does have somewhat of that sounding, but no. I think that's some kind of a radar. So 6130, the interval signal you were hearing, Almesam, is Radio Romania International. Mad Radio DXer. Radio has been a good recovery tool for me today, as I also had some anxiety. I have been scanning the shortwave, medium wave bands, mostly for pirates. The two MLA 30s I have are great indoors. Cool. That's what we talk about, using our hobby to get our minds off of whatever stress we have from whatever reason. And Lord knows there's so much stress that we can have today with all that's been happening. And I think we gotta take it easy and enjoy our hobby, which is a great way to take our minds off of this. What else do we have? John M. Karian. God knows how many IRCs were sent to P.O. Box 88 in Moscow. Oh, man. IRCs. I never sent a lot of IRCs over time. William Helms, nice to have you here. CW on 6607. Yeah, hearing it. So 6607 CW, or if you don't have a CW receiver, 6606 upper sideband is 4XZ in Israel. The Extra says, my guess is that signal on 6604 looks like Stanag or encrypted military. It's not Stanag. It's some kind of really wide, bizarre signal, and I don't exactly know what that is. I wish I knew what that could be and where it comes from, but it's very wide. It does sound, and it does have, it doesn't, on the waterfall, it doesn't look like DRM. DRM has a specific pattern in it that's kind of easy to see on, and that's DRM. That doesn't sound or that doesn't look like DRM. It might sound like it a little bit. It does. It could be a, I don't know. It could be a wideband Stanag or something. I don't know. But these are popping up more and more all over the shortwave bands. That's kind of interesting. So, hey there, William Helms in Florida. Alan, saw a guy recently on YouTube in Brisbane, Australia, who was listening to Shannon Volmet 5505. That's a good catch. I mean, these stations are low power. So compared to, big gun international broadcasts. So when you hear something like that, it's kind of cool. Steve, nice to have you here from Australia, my friends. So I know I don't ask, by the way, I'll take a little 1 minute pause here. I don't ask for donations much, but this is a special show. And if you feel like it, you want to help out in doing these live shows and maybe encourage me in maybe doing more of these unannounced shows, you can send donations at the Yahoo email that you have here. And it's welcome and it's really helpful. And thanks for everybody that donate. Payne, it's nothing special, but I can get Shannon on 3413 and 5505. Yeah, I get the 3413 too here. I'm hearing it right now. Let's try, out of curiosity, the buzzer. Not hearing the buzzer. Four zero 4038.5. This is why I love software-defined receivers. 4038.5. There's somebody talking. It's either a MarsNet. So now there's kind of a digital mode being sent out. 4038.5, 4038.5. Let me just check it out here. It could be a MarsNet. It could be a Air Civil Patrol Net. 4038.5 kilohertz USB. And yeah, it's a Mars. This is MarsNet. So Mars is military auxiliary radio system. It's from the U.S. military. So they're on right now, 4038.5 upper sideband. And they're sending out some digital modes at the same time as they also are talking. Kind of interesting here to hear that. Really cool to hear that. So, but it's nice, Payne, that you're receiving. Yeah, a few stations actually here that you're receiving channel involvement. I mean, it's always cool to get these. I use them as my propagation beacons that I call. So what I do is I tune Shannon involvement on 3413 or 5505 or Royal Air Force on 5450. And what I do is if I hear them, well, I know propagation isn't bad. If I don't hear them, well, maybe propagation is crappy. They're kind of my standard beacons to see what propagation actually looks like. Mark Alfred, nice to have you here. It's a nice surprise, isn't it? A Sunday show. At this time, I usually am at the bar with my friends and we are drinking beer and talking about whatever. So, no bars, no nothing. Let's do a live shortwave show. How about it? So, kind of cool. Johnny DXer. Oh, snap, a Sunday show. What's up? Nice to have you here, Johnny DXer. Man. W3JMC is the call sign. So current patch DX has got the MarsNet clear in Iowa. So it's cool. Thank you, Mad Radio DXer. Cool. Happy to be here and relieve the stress of all of this. Radioactive has nothing on 403 8.5 in Oregon. Seems to be more like an East Coast thing. Kamexy, nice to have you here. Hey guys, any ideas why my noise floor seems to go up and down quite a bit, mostly up? My RSP1A sits next to my desktop computer. Could it be that? Is it you know what? The best thing to do let's go a little bit into the noise, because noise is, we gotta face it, noise is our enemy, and it's there. And we gotta live with whatever noise we've got, I live in a very high noise environment here. I feel almost almost special that I can still listen to stuff like the MarsNet that's right there. So over years, the noise has been going higher and higher. And I talked about, how when I was young, there was my neighbors with the Sony TV, and then I moved to another place and I was super quiet. Moved here, game changed forever. When I moved there and I set up my Kenwood R5000 in the year 2000, and I put I don't know, I had something like maybe 30 or 40 feet of wire, I immediately noticed that this would change my listening forever. That here, the noise level was so high that I would have to change it would change my listening forever. And it totally did. And it kind of put a downer, when I moved here, here's a very beautiful place to live, honestly. The only negative side to it was my noise level. And that did put a downer because, shortwave was such a big thing for me that having to adapt to the fact that noise is now part of my life was kind of a little hard. It made me sad. I don't know how many times in the first year, I'd say, I don't know how many times I turned on my Kenwood, tuned a little bit around, and shut it off because it's like, no use, too noisy, and I'm not hearing the stuff I want, and it's annoying. So basically what happens is you get the noise, you have noise around you, but there's a pattern. There are things you can do, you can check. Of course, the first thing to check is the noise coming from my own setup, my own place. So for portable radios or a desktop, you can shut off the power to different things around your home and see if it changes the noise levels. For an SDR, because you have an RSP1A, and that is a little more complex because you can part of the noise can be coming from your computers, and that's true. Where I would say you need to check out is can you see a pattern in that noise? Is it just up and down while you're listening all the time? Sometimes you see a pattern. You can see that at certain times of the day it's more than at other times. My RSP devices, so mine is right here in the back. The computer is right there. I try to keep my RSP as far away from the computer as possible. So yes, of course, you got to plug it in with a USB cable. But I use I don't know, my USB cable is about probably 6 feet long, at least 6 feet long. So my USB cable is all special because it has chokes or ferrites that actually are on the cable that also kind of reduce the noise. It's not a standard USB cable that's just a straight USB cable. It's designed to lower noise from devices. So, you know what? I never tried, and I really should. I got a really basic USB cable here that has no chokes or anything. I should actually change it and see if it does anything. If there's more noise into my, you know what? I'm going to make a video tomorrow about this. I'll be part of my videos tomorrow. I'm going to take my straight USB cable, no ferrites, no chokes, no nothing on it, and I'm going to actually compare. Is there higher noise level with that cable than with with the one I'm using right now? But I tend to make sure that my RSP device is as far away. So if it has 6 feet of wire, it's almost going to be 6 feet apart. Not have it next to the computer. The computer is a big problem in an SDR. What I understand in a lot of people that complain of SDRs is that they have an SDR that the computer brings so much noise, it becomes unusable. And some people are playing with that because of the computer itself or the power supply that is used with the computer. If you use a laptop, remember all the generic power supplies. If you replace the original power supply with a generic, cheaper version, these are almost all very noisy. The original power supplies of the computer is often much better. Some computers make more noise than others. That is definite. I can say that my Acer Nitro 5 is not bad, but it's not as quiet as my Toshiba's. I mean, if I had a choice, it's honestly when I went to buy my new computer this summer, the only reason I didn't have a Toshiba is because Toshiba doesn't make laptops anymore. Because if they would have made laptops, I would have purchased probably another Toshiba. Because all the Toshiba computers I had were very quiet with my radios. And, I had a thing for Toshiba at the same time because they always lasted real long. I mean, I got my original Toshiba laptop from 2008 here on the floor. It's still working, and it's actually working with Windows 10. And that thing is still working. I mean, it's 12 years old. And that thing, which is a Core 2, they were calling what dual cores at the time, because there were different ways of mentioning the core thing. So there was dual core, but there was also Core 2 Duo. Well, that's the one in there. It's a Core 2 Duo, which came before the dual core, which was more powerful. And they gave me a great time. And, I had Toshiba's for that reason. Although the last Toshiba I have that's running the SDR here has the crappiest keyboard I've ever seen on a laptop. But the computer itself is amazing. My Acer Nitro 5 that I have here is actually quiet, but it does. I would need to test out a little bit more. Maybe that's another video I should do. Test out I've got several laptops here. Maybe test out the different noise levels from different laptops and see how the RSP device responds to the noise from all of this. But remember, a lot of the noise, if you got an outdoor antenna, if you got antennas, a lot of noise doesn't come from your home. Here, I can tell you for a fact, because when it actually showed to me that the noise wasn't coming from here, was about a year and a half ago. There's a power outage on the street here. But only the street here had a power outage. In the backyard where my sloper was, before I had the loop antenna, in the backyard where the sloper was, the other side in the backyard, they had power. And there was no difference in my noise. Zero difference. So imagine the street here doesn't have power. I don't have power in the building here, but the backyard does on the other side. And my noise level was the same. It's as if everybody was powered up. I understood that day that whatever I do here, it's not coming from here. It's coming from somewhere else that I have no control over it. Noise level can change for different things. There are so many things that actually do create noise that some you can identify. Like the power grid. So if you go, you might have a power pole on your street, or a that actually has some kind of defective isolator, and it's creating some noise from time to time. Where I lived before here, I told you guys it was quiet, except I lived there for what, 7 years, 7 or 8 years. The first 4 years was super quiet. I could listen to these really weak signals everywhere. It was like crazy. And one day I went to listen to the radio and I couldn't hear a lot of stuff. There was this noise on the bands, but it wasn't always there. It was intermittent. And one day, while I was listening to shortwave, it was super good, super clear, and it was sunny outside. Then clouds rolled in, and later in the afternoon, we started to feel that summer warm humidity moment. It's like, you feel like it's like, wow, okay, it's muggy, and the noise started to appear. And until then, I had not made any thing that could kind of tell me that maybe it's related to the weather and something else. But that day I was like, huh, okay. But I was still like, unsure. Then a few days after, it was super beautiful, no noise. 4 days, wake up in the morning, it's raining outside, full noise. I was like, okay. It's noisy when it's raining or very humid. I had noticed when I would take walks that one of the power poles where the isolator was, with my ear, I could hear kind of electric, kind of a harking, if you want. You couldn't see it. It was not visible, but you could hear it. And one day I took a portable radio with me, went under that pole, and, it would stop from like for 10 or 15 seconds and then start again. And when I went under the pole, I hear that the noise on the radio exactly matched the pattern of the noise that I could hear from the arcing and the power pole. So, there are things like that you can try to use. If you have a portable radio, take it with you around in the AM band. And the reason why I say AM band is because it's very directional, because of ferrites inside the portables. You kind of turn around and try to pinpoint a little more. And you could maybe pinpoint the noise sources around you in your home or in your neighborhood also at the same time. But keep in mind that there's a lot of the noise out there you'll have zero control over. And unfortunately, our hobby today is challenged with all of that noise. It's a huge challenge. And I live with that every day here. When I go to the park or I go to Berry Island, I totally see how, if it was that quiet, how DXing would be amazing. We were talking earlier, so some of you were talking about how you got into the ham hobby because it was more difficult to get interesting shortwave stations. When I'm here, I hear a certain number of stations, I'm still lucky to hear a nice selection, like before while I was eating, I actually had a I had a I was listening to Mali, and I could hear Radio Guinea and Conakry. I'm hearing the Marsnet now. There's for a noisy location, I still am able to keep going on. But when I go to Perry Island, I immediately understand that shortwave has 20 times, 30 times more signals than what I'm hearing here. And they're coming in great. They're coming in amazingly good. And I start hearing all these stations there, and it's like it's not, of course, like the 80s when there are tons of stations, but at Perry Island, it's like, shortwave comes alive again. And you listen to the BBC like super easy. Here I hear BBC 11810 from Ascension Islands. It comes in okay. There it's not okay. There it's perfect copy. Even if the signal isn't full scale, it's perfect copy. Why? The only difference is there it's quiet. Here it's noisy. And that's where you understand that, oh man, okay. There's still a lot out there. There's still really a lot out there, actually. But the noise we have washes out the weakest stations. And we get only what comes above it. And it actually lowers the amount of stations we can actually hear. So that is the big problem with our hobby, is the noise, really, really the noise. Because there's much more than we think on the bands. When you tune a frequency range and you say, I heard 4 stations. Yeah, you heard 4 stations in your place. Go to a quiet location, and there's no 4, that's not 4 stations you'll hear. You'll hear 25. There were stations there. They're all in the noise. It's washed out. You can't, on an SDR, you'll see the little lines. You see that there's a very, very weak line within that noise. So you see that, okay, there's something there, but you just can't hear it or listen to it. It's crazy. It's crazy. And, very quiet location versus a noisy location. It's a huge difference. I would go to Perry Island, have fun all day, come back home and kind of be, almost sad and almost depressed at seeing what I'm getting here. It's like, being there and saying, oh, I'm hearing that super strong. And then, it's still going to be there. Coming back here half an hour later, trying it out here. And it's like, wow, it's in the noise and I barely can hear it. It is sad that it's like that. But at the same time, we have to live with that. We have to live with that. We don't have any choice to live with that and do the best we can do with that. That's why, honestly, the MLA30 is a magical antenna somewhat. It brought back part of the hobby that was unfortunately, not there before. I hear CFRX Toronto 6070 every single morning when I wake up. And I take my first coffee and think about my YouTube videos of the day. iTunes 6070 CFRX. It's good. I can listen to the program. Before the loops, before the MLA30, it was impossible. Yeah, it was there in the noise. So, Bob T, nice to have you on board from Northeast Ohio. How long does it usually take to receive an EQSL? I emailed Radio Romania International full reception report 3 weeks ago. Did you give your postal address, Bob? very important. Radio Romania does not send EQSLs. They send a paper QSL in the mail. So if you haven't given your postal address, you're not going to get one. Second of all, if you did, give them time. I mean, you send them an email report. They acknowledged it. They will print, they'll have that QSL card prepared for you. Mail it back. It could take a month, 2 months, 3 months, depends on the radio station. When you are expecting QSL cards from snail mail, be prepared. Some cards, I had cards here that took a year to arrive. Radio Havana, Cuba. I don't think I've ever had a QSL from Radio Havana, Cuba faster than about 6 months. It's so long that you kind of forget that you ever wrote them. And then one day, I think the last QSL I got from Cuba, it was like that. I wrote them, and one day I opened the mail and I was like, oh, I sent them a QSL. I sent them a reception report. I don't even remember when, because it takes so long. But they are in the mail, so you have. I hope you gave your postal address. And once again, don't forget, you're sending in, even if they send EQSLs, do include your postal address. So, Brian Weiterheimer is receiving Mars. Corn Patch DX was part of Mars in the late 80s. Alpha 3 USA. Levy Nathan, nice to have you on board from Israel. Mickey Dalmage, Sunday night show means karaoke. Oh, man. What else do we have? I like that. Johnny DX, the radio needs social distancing from your computer. Often, yep. J. Lyle's got a few from Radio Romania International. They're a good replier. There's a good replier for Radio Romania. Ami Sen says, I've just learned to live with the noise. It's better when the upstairs neighbors aren't in. They have a switching power supply that just trashes all frequencies. Yeah, that's the bad part when you gotta live with those neighbors that have tons of noise. Johnny DX, 6 feet is the magic number. J. Lyle, where I live out in country in southern Illinois, it's very quiet out here. My noise floor on the shortwave is about 0.5 or 1 on the signal meter. I'm always afraid of that changing. It's been 30 years. Enjoy that. Cristoforo, nice to have you here. 4038.5 is Navy, located in Maryland. Oh, thank you so much for that information. Madrid DXer, that would be a good comparison, as I suspect the ferret chucks I use don't make much difference. You know what? Tomorrow I will. I don't know why I never thought of trying it. I will tomorrow make a video and switch between a very, very regular, ordinary USB cable and the one that I have with ferret chucks on it, and see if it makes a difference on my SDR receiver. TK920, nice to have you on board. W0ZRK. Denny Shortwave, yes, the generic replacement power supplies are awful. Yep, absolutely. Bullfrog 89, KD2CXU, nice to have you here from Watertown, New York. Not bad at all. Special Sunday show, absolutely. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Joe Sambranias says, I got a little improvement on my RTL SDR building a USB cable to move the dongle away from the notebook, but the noise level here is high. Another thing I should probably try is use a regular USB cable and try different ways of trying to lower noise from it. Maybe that could be a good video also. If you don't have, a ferrite enabled USB cable, maybe you can create a better cable with an existing one. That's something I should try also. Keegan has reception with his dad, W9JEF ICOM IC7300 transceiver, and W6 LVP loop. Northern Dawn, nice to have you on board, my friend. Let me try to get back to reality. The deranged war tomato still use a AEA Moscow muffler or woodpecker blanker. Oh man, the woodpecker. Graham Taplin, nice to have you here. Can you confirm frequency 9905? Normally it's 9955. Because here 9905 has nothing. But at 9955, coming in pretty well. With AWR wave scan show. Advances World Radio's wave scan show playing on 9955. I'm surprised I'm getting 9955 though so well. 9955 is actually broadcast towards the Caribbean and South America. So it's broadcast away from me. Surprised to hear it so well. So Graham, do you mean 9955? If you're listening to AWR wave scan right now, that's what it is. Keegan has WWV and WWVH on 10 megahertz. James Farley, nice to have you on board. We need you more than ever. I'm trying to help out here. Actually, I'm not somebody that has... I used to have a lot of anxiety, honestly. There was a period in my life where anxiety was leading my life. And I don't know how many times I felt bad and to a point where you feel so bad that you think you're going to die. And one day because every time I would Google my symptoms, it was always coming back as, the first website would come back with anxiety. And I read several posts and several articles, and I came to understand that everything was in my head more than anything else. But it's, even if you tell yourself that, it's difficult to deal with it. It's, you can tell someone, hey, relax. Yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. And I know. But when that would happen, I would I started, because I was working from home. I was doing YouTube videos, and that was the beginning of the YouTube videos. And what I would do is when I started realizing that what I had was probably anxiety gaining access and making me feel crappy. Every time I started feeling bad, I would immediately stop everything I was doing and go take a walk or do something to change my mind. And as time went by, it's kind of attenuated a little bit. And it came to a point where I was able to even just stay at home. And when it would start, I was like, no, this is not going to gain. This is not going to work. It's not going to gain, that to the point where it's going to control me. No way. It's not totally zero today. I do have moments here and there where something happens. I feel kind of dizzy or something, and I'm like, and I understand that it's that coming back. But now that I have kind of gain a control over it rather than let that control me. But it took a long time. And you know what? Anyways, I'm here for that. If that helps you out in some way, and tonight the show is helping you out in some way, that's what I'm happy to be here. Okay, that's all I got to say. What else do we have? Bullfrog 89 experienced huge swing between college and home. When I'm home in the country, the bands come alive and the noise melts back. Absolutely, it's crazy. That's where you see that. Wow, there are some places where you actually really, really receive stuff that is that is there. It's there wherever you are, but where it's noisy, it's washed out. Any shortwave? Yes, loop antennas are almost necessary now for me here to enjoy listening. Same here. Radio Lens, nice to have you on board, my friend. Northern Dawn headed to the local park over the weekend, got some good signals. Yep, it's often like that, actually. Often like that. Brian Weitenheimer, speak of the devil, I'm getting 6070 CFRX in southeast British Columbia. Wow, cool. That's good. Zachary Owens, nice to have you here, Zach. Me and Kathy, nice surprise for Sunday night. Hello, Kathy. And nice to have you guys here. First token, nice to have you here. Pouring a scotch. So cheers. This is vodka 7-Up and blueberry juice. Remember, guys, next week, 1 week from now, A20 schedule season starting. We will be in the new summer schedules. For those that like my TKBC, I almost never listen to my TKBC, but I know a lot of you enjoy my TKBC. So they were on 5960 starting next Saturday. I think it's next Saturday. Well, it will be UT Sunday. So starting next week, my TKBC is on 9925. I hope they're going to make it because it's still early in the schedule season for summer. But remember, it's 9925 starting next week. Mike Hill, nice to have you here. Says greetings. Happy late birthday. Thank you very much. No problem. About the Friday show. It was a little shorter than usual. I actually made the Friday show a little shorter because what happened Friday, I had a really big day Friday. And when I came to the live show, I was already tired and already it was already a big thing for me to do a live show on Friday. And plus the fact that me and Sheldon had messed around for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, in trying to do that live feed for the International Radio Report and recorded. And things, I wasn't happy with the way things happened. So what happened is we had done that, and I was looking around and searching for cables. I was searching for a very specific cable that I know I have that I never found. I was going crazy. Then I had the live show to do, and me and Sheldon were to meet up later on Friday night because we had to do the show. We had to send it Friday night. So, there was a live show, and it was like, okay, we're going to meet up again, me and Sheldon, and we're going to have to do that show, and I'm going to have to find the way for this to happen and work. So that's why I was a little short on Friday, because when I went out, it was like thinking, okay, I need a little bit of time to figure out that little thing that's still missing for the show to happen, to record and to be sent out. So, we worked it out, and the show went on this morning. It was kind of great. It was really a lot of fun to do so. And now, you know what? It gave me now I know how to set up. It's going to be easier. And Sheldon will get a USB headset to have his voice sounding even better than it did this morning. It was interesting because I was listening this morning to the International Radio Report. It was amazing to see how my microphone here sounded almost like a microphone from the CKUT studio when I was talking. The only thing that was not as good, it was the fact that Sheldon was using the microphone from the laptop, which it sounded like that. And that's all we had, so we worked it out, and it was okay. But I have the headset that I've been using in the past for YouTube videos that I'm not using anymore because I got this microphone. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to send him the headset, and he's going to have much better sound while we record it. Because you know what? With things happening right now, I think we're going to record the international radio report from our respective homes for a long time. I think this show is going to be pre-recorded for quite a while before we actually go back to the studios at CKUT. What else do we have? First token, ferrite common mode chokes on every data line and coax in the shack here. Yeah, to reduce the noise, it's almost it's something you gotta have. Mike Hill is checking in from Northwest Arkansas. Nice to have people from all around the world. It's really cool. Radio Lens says supposed to be if you believe that there is some RF noise coming from electric posts, you can report it. Yes. You can. So to complete my story about that noise from the electric post, I thought, you know what? I thought they wouldn't do anything. I thought I would like call in for nothing. So I called Hydro-Quebec, which which is the power here in the province of Quebec, and I explained to whoever first. I said I got a. So I made it really high profile. So what I did is I and by the way, what gave me the idea, because I would never have called, but I remember I think I had a Monitoring Times magazine from the time where somebody was actually talking about how he contacted the hydro or the power company in his location to explain that there was noise and that they had fixed the problem. So I was thinking, well, I'm going to try, but in my head, it's like, no, I'm going to try, but they're not going to do anything. And so, but I used, I didn't say I was a shortwave listener and that, hey, you're there's noise on my radio, because that would not have been serious enough. So I wrote down a little bit, and I said, and when I called, I said, hello, I am an amateur radio operator, and I have noise in my receiver when it's very humid and when it's raining. And I used direction finding equipment. It sounds good. I used, was an AM radio. It is direction finding equipment, is it not? And so I said I used direction finding equipment and pinned down that one of the electricity poles on the street here is actually creating problem and arcing at the isolator. And I want to report this. And I was first surprised about the fact that she sent me to the right office for that. And when I was there, they were very serious, and it's like, oh, thank you so much. And the lady says, well, on the pole there's a tag with a little number on it. Can you give us the tag, the number? And I gave her the tag, and I thought, well, it's going to stay there. Oh, 3 days later, I get a guy calling and says, well, we're the yes, we're here to help you out with that noise that you have. And I remember the guy said, so you got a noise, blah blah blah. And he said, is it happening now? And I said, no, it's not. So the guy said, well, we want to help you out, but in order for us to help you out, it has to be happening. So I said, okay, well, it's happening only when it's very humid or rainy. You're calling me today. It's a very dry, sunny day. It doesn't do anything when it's like that. So the guy said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you my cell phone number. And when it does it, call me. And if I can, we're going to rush it. We're going to go there and check it out. And about 4 or 5 days later, called the number. And it took maybe an hour. And the team was there. They were looking at the pole. and they were in the pole, and they actually they changed the isolator, all of it. Even rang my doorbell and said, well, yes, sir, you're the one reporting about the noise and blah, blah, blah. And says, well, we changed the isolator and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. And he said, if it still does it, call us, call my cell phone. I'll be happy to come back and check it out, but I think it should be okay. And he did say when we arrived, we could hear the arcing, which I was hearing. And he says it was definitely that pole that was creating problems. And I was surprised. I never thought they would do anything. But also at the same time, in that Monitoring Times article, they were mentioning how they do it because if there's arcing or anything, there's a loss of power. There's also maybe the equipment's failing. They want to know because it costs them money if there's some kind of wasting of power somewhere. So it was amazing. I mean, I never thought it would do anything. It's one of those things that you call a company. It's like, yeah, they're not gonna do anything. What are they gonna do? And you're like, you see all happening, and it's like, well, they actually did something. This is cool. This is kind of cool. Jet Gyrotech, nice to have you on board, my friend. Deranged War Tomato. What about SDRs in cheap plastic enclosures? That is where some RFI can get. The worst. The worst. I don't have one here. Do I? Nope. The worst SDRs are the cheap SDRs because and the dongles, because those close to the computer, directly plugged to the computer, and all of that, they pick up tons of noise. The RSP1A, I just want to say for those that don't know, the RSP1A is a plastic enclosure, but inside the plastic case, they spray painted a metallic paint that it reduces RFI. So it's not just a plastic enclosure. But the RSPDX that I got is a real metal enclosure. That also I should check. Compare the noise level from the RSP1A and the RSPDX. That's another video I should make. First token, keep in mind this coming week, the Arecibo PR ionospheric heater. Oh, really? They're going to start? Do you have a website or somewhere where you can find information, first token? So on the 25th, they're going to start. Arecibo PR ionospheric heater is like a little bit like HARP in Alaska. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to check it out. Do you have a website? If you have, can you share it? It'd be interesting. I'll make a video. Thank you, Northern Dawn, for the birthday wishes. For those that didn't know, it was my birthday on last Friday. Jay Lyle, the thing that aggravates me is the FCC and manufacturers that don't care much about noise. Jay Lyle, the biggest problem that happens with the noise in our life now, in our environment, there used to be a time when what we would buy and get in electronic devices came from specific stores. So we would go to a brick and mortar store somewhere and buy our TV, buy our computer, buy our whatever electronic gadget we want. And when that happened, and of course they were higher priced, but when that happened, they were controlled because they need to be approved for the noise and stuff like that by the FCC or whatever. And a lot of them were, and as long as that happened, as long as the companies went through the regular hoops of this is how you create and build a device, the noise level were relatively low. But what happened is we then had the choice of buying cheap Chinese crap and Chinese stuff that never needed to have any regulation of anything. So now you buy, whatever Chinese electronic device on eBay, And that thing doesn't have any FCC approval. It just gets here. But that thing is a huge noise transmitter because it just, a lot of the devices, they just put the minimum parts. I remember watching one device that I had, and I can tell you guys, there was a device that I had purchased, and what happened is I opened it up because it was very noisy, and I was surprised to see that there were like 7 parts on a very small circuit board. There were 7 parts that converted my 120 volt AC to 12 volt DC for that thing to work. I just looked at it and I was like, that works? Really? It was the minimum of the minimum of what you could do to convert 120 AC to 12 DC. And of course, it was like a little switching power supply thing with a minimum amount of parts. And you looked at it and it was like, wow. First, no wonder that thing costs so little. Second, if that's what's in all the crap that we buy, no wonder everything is noisy. And of course, one of the big things, and probably one of the biggest changes in the world that we have today, that came with noise, is that for a very long time, the only way of getting DC power to electronics, because let's face it, for those that don't know, the electronics we use every day, none of that works on 120 AC. 120 AC is what the outlet gives us. Electronics with transistors and stuff like that works at very low voltages, and they don't work in AC, they work in direct current, DC. So you got to convert that. And for a long time, converting meant you had that big brick, that big wall wart that would like take all of the plug. You would just plug it in and you can plug nothing else because it's just that big chunk, heavy thing in the wall. But those were linear. Those were made with a big transformer. And then there was a little bit of circuit for the DC to be smoothed out. And those were quiet because it's the transformer that transformed 120 to 12, and then you had a little electronic circuit that would smooth it out and make sure that it becomes DC. But somewhere in the 90s, somebody invented, it was invented far before that. I think the switching power supply was invented in the 70s, but it didn't came mainstream for a long time. It's when the switching power supply arrived. A switching power supply, what it does is it takes 120 AC. And if you notice, by the way, today's devices come with a very small power adapter. It's very small. And the reason why it's small is that they removed that big transformer and they replaced all of that with an electronic circuit that pushes. So our 120 volts current is 60 hertz. It changes cycles 60 times a second. That generates a lot of heat. So what they do is they take that and they shove it up to 40 kilohertz. That means it changes 40,000 times a second. What that does is that it removes one of the big problems, the heat generation. And with all the circuit around it, they're able to transform that into 12 volt DC, 5 volt DC, whatever you need. The problem is they have oscillators and a lot of switching transistors. And what that does is a lot of noise, unfortunately. Very high quality switching power supplies do not create noise. There are some really high quality. They are expensive. they are as expensive, if not more expensive, than the good old, linear power supply. But the problem is we needed to have small devices that create and generate enough power for our own electronics. I mean, look at a laptop. A laptop, you guys are going to be surprised, but a laptop will consume amps of power. When I play a game on a gaming laptop, my gaming laptop consumes a couple of amps of power. It's not an electronic device that is consumes only a couple of hundred milliamps. No. When that GPU runs and when everything's going, your computer is a power hungry machine. And the way that they can actually power that with something that is not a brick this big is a switching power supply. It's the only way to do it. Now, with good quality power supplies, it works well. But, I'm going to stop blabbing here. Hey, Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here. I heard you on the radio on CQUT this morning. Nice to have you here, Sheldon. Ron Hicks. I'm going to try to catch up a little bit here, guys, to be not in... I'm 20 minutes behind, so isn't too bad. Okay, let's if I miss out on anybody, say hi again. Keegan has Radio New Zealand 13840. Ron Hicks didn't think I would make a show. I've been busy humping freight here at the FedEx hub. Nice to have you on board in Memphis, Tennessee, KM4LDI. KC1ANR in Boston. Nice to have you on board. Graham says, I get it on 9905. Oh. RSP SDR. It's 9955. There's something that you haven't said right. It's 9955. Because 9905 doesn't have anything. You need to make sure that you set up things right. There's something not right in your setup. So it's 9955. That frequency that you should see is 9955. Be careful because there's the low frequency and the main frequency. Don't look at the low frequency. You got to look at the main frequency. Crazy Navy, where are you from? Mad Reader DXer says, going to watch a Register show in bed. Take care, my friends. Be safe, you too. Nice to have you here. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. J. Lyle, where do you get the cable for the reference in the back of the SDR play? I don't know. I haven't actually took the time to look at what type of cable was there. That's a good question. Hey, Rufus Newt. Nice to have you here. Surprise, surprise. Mike Hill, very good sound for the microphone. Yeah, it's pretty surprising. Danny A. Herrera. Great to hear the Mike KBC coming back. Nice to have you here from Colombia. HK4DAH. Stay safe, you too. Danny Shortwave. Yes, USB headset much better compared to old analog headset for notebook. Sheldon. We were most pleased to hear from so many International Radio Report listeners today who really appreciate what we do and encouraged us to keep going the live shows. I got to say, Sheldon, all the positive comments and emails we got, I think we did really the right thing, and it really feels good to know that what we do is appreciated. I feel the same tonight. Because when I came on with that surprise show here tonight, I don't know how many people said, you know what? Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's just so cool that, you keep our mind out of all that's happening and you're, here tonight, and it just is great. Feels cool. Feels cool to know that what we do, you with the International Radio Report and me, the live shows, it's just... appreciated, and feels good to know that we aren't doing this for nothing. We're doing this, and people are enjoying it. Keegan, 2016 World Radio TV Handbook 70th Anniversary Edition came in the mail yesterday. Okay. To go along with your 2020. You know, what's interesting when you get past editions, because for those that haven't seen, I do have my 2020 edition right here. It's to see that when you go back in time, the different editions that are several years back, all the stations that were on the air at a certain time, and it's just crazy to see the past. It's like getting an old passport to world band radio. Paixão Ferroviária from Brazil, PU2805 SWL. Your name is Italo. Nice to have you on board, my friend. First token says, yes, I have had the power company come out and fix poles several times over the years. And yes, any report of interference, they take serious. So, it's kind of nice. Obviously, they respond better if you give them a specific pole number. Yeah, because if you just say, I got noise from your poles, it's like, yeah. I was able to really pinpoint, well, it's this one, and give the number on the pole itself. Jet Jarotech. The reason they respond to complaints is that there are components that should not usually emit noise. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a maintenance thing. Honestly, they just they're happy that we report it because they do maintenance and make sure that everything's all right. Zachary Antol, nice to have you here. Oh, the 30th first token. Okay. Zachary Antol says, how are you doing in quarantine? Well, I'm not in quarantine. We're just in a mode of there's nothing to do else than live shows and take a walk and YouTube videos. Brett Wayne has the RSP1A in a metal box. Cool. Did you buy the metal box that they sell and you could put it in, or you ordered it with it? First token companies can do self-certification of devices. The FCC does not actually test every device anymore. Yeah, I know. I used to work in a place that made lighting systems, and I understood how the certification. I remember UL, the Underwriters Laboratory. I understood that it was a big. I'll say it like it is. I understood that it was a big joke. That, yes, you could send some of the lighting systems to be tested officially, but I remember they would ask me to check on some of the lighting systems and tell me to put the sticker on for UL certification when it never was certified. And that, when I worked there, I understood, wow, okay, so this is a big joke. That sticker doesn't mean anything. So that means also that the FCC, whatever that they could put on, it's a big joke. Rufus, linear power supplies are the only way to go, and so hard to find. Build them. They're actually easy to build. For anybody that's a little bit technical, linear power supply are not that hard to build, actually. But they require those big transformers that weigh a ton. And the more power you need, the more it's going to weigh a ton. I only use Astron linear power supplies with all my radios. Mateo Castro, nice to have you here from Argentina. ¿Cómo está mi amigo donde Argentina? William Moser, nice to have you here. Jacob E. Alice, nice to have you on board. And bought a brand new RadioWow, the R108. Cool. You're going to have fun with that. Orpheus News said, Sunday night show is great. No work for me for a few weeks, so this is fun. I work from home. Yeah. Doomsday clock. They blocked the stimulus bill. Yeah, it's politics is such a big problem in our lives of everybody. And I'm not mentioning any sides. Politics is a big crap. Man. Rebel Foxy. Nice to have you here. I had birds landing on my antenna today. I was thinking of you, Sheldon. I went for a walk and there was a cardinal singing in the tree and the other tree next to me. Nice, beautiful red cardinal. I don't know why, Sheldon, but now that when I see birds, I always think of you. Kame Hain. Nice to have you here from Yokohama, Japan. Nice to have you on board from Japan. Cool. Brian Wettenheimer, voice of reporter week 5850, just fired up. Let's check it out. 5850. Oh, pretty good signal too. I listened to him on what is it on Thursday night, and you know what? It was so fun yesterday because there was XFM Pirate on the air, and I rarely respond to pirates. I rarely write them, and I rarely take the time to report something. But yesterday, I was listening to XFM, and he was really, really strong. And I think it was 4185. And I was actually, cooking steaks on the barbecue and stuff. And I was hearing him reading reports from the HF Underground. And I thought, I got to go write a little something. Say, hey, I'm listening to you from Montreal. This is Joel, the guy from official SWL channel. And I went back to my steaks on the barbecue and stuff. And I was listening with the portables. I was listening, actually. I know I'm nuts, but I was listening with 3 portables at the same time. The Sangean ATS 909X, the C-Crane CC Skywave SSB, and the XH Data D808 were all fired one next to each other. And I was comparing how well I was receiving XFM. And they all did a great job at it. And while I was listening, he came up and he said, hey, it's Gilles in Montreal, Canada, the guy with the official SWL channel. And I couldn't stop laughing when he said, well, everybody knows Gilles in Montreal. Nice to have you, and it's nice to report, and thanks for reporting that you're listening to me, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, okay, this makes my day. This really, really makes my day. It was like, oh, everybody knows Gilles in Montreal. It's like, okay. Jerry Ball, nice to have you on board. And yes, we got to read on and take care of you too. Larry Cordy, KB2DYU. Nice to have you here. William, nice to have you here from Simi Valley, California. KM6WBN. Rufus Newt. Let me just try to go back. J. Lyle, when do you have to take everything down because they are redoing your home? I remember, it's going to be, look, here's the thing. It's in May, but now with everything that's happening, I'm not totally sure it's still happening in May. It's still scheduled for May. But for now, I am not sure this is going to keep up with all that's happening right now. But technically should be in the month of May. It's still scheduled for that. Rufus Newt, 5850, great in the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. J. Lyle, really weird when you turn 50 and then you get your high school yearbook out. You mean, you think, man, where did it go off? Bobby Burgess, 5850, strong in Louisiana. Keegan, 5850, S9 Plus. M. Phillips, 5850, coming in strong in Illinois. First token. Powered up on 6925. Let's check it out. Anything here? Yeah, I'm hearing. There's some music. 6925 upper sideband. 6925 upper sideband. There's a pirate. And I actually hear the music. Jacob B. Alice, R108 indeed. Regards from El Salvador. YS1ER. Hey, 73, my friend, from El Salvador. I think it's the first time we have someone from El Salvador. Hope you are well, my friend. This is Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Keegan last night ordered an Ethon Grenic Edition satellite radio on Amazon. Doomsday Clock. How about we don't care about him getting that? Mateo Castro says 9 Spanish. Did you learn it from Shortwave? Actually, I learned it from something called Coffee Break Spanish because I wanted to learn Spanish, which I do not speak really very much. I understand some of it, but I need to really brush it up. And there was an app. So when I was a tech guy, I was wondering when I commute from one client to the other, and sometimes, it's half an hour or 1 hour. I was thinking, what could I do that would be constructive to do when I'm in that situation? One of the things was listening to tech shows, but one of the things was listening to a thing called Coffee Break Spanish. It's called Coffee Break Spanish because it's 15 minutes. So it's like a coffee break thing. And in 15 minutes, they would have you learn Spanish. So I listened to a lot of their lessons. I forgot a lot of it because I don't practice, but it did brush up some of my Spanish, honestly. Matt says faint signal on 6925. M. Phillips, nothing on 6925. 6930 has religious stuff? 6930. Really? Do I have something on 6930? I don't have nothing on 6930. And 6925 seems to have disappeared. Oh, music. It's back. It's back with some music. Matt, 6925 coming up nicely in Colorado. William Moser's next radio is going to order is the Texan R911. So, interesting. Keegan has 6925 S1 plus, rather faint. Bobby Burgess, 6925 nothing. David Branscombe, nice to have you here. There's a station 9455 playing classical music. Who is it? That comes from WRMI in Florida. 9455 is WRMI in Florida. John Doe, should we expect more pirates now that everyone is staying home? You know what? I've noticed a lot of increase in amateur radio operations around the bands. I didn't think about it, but somehow I have the impression that there's a little more pirates than usual. It's totally possible. We don't know them much, but pirates have a life outside their pirate radio activities and a job, probably. So if they're confined at home, yeah, maybe when there's nothing else to do, let's just pirate on. I would do that if I'd be a pirate. I'd pirate my way to hell out of the virus. I would say, I think it is. I think I would do it. M. Phillips 9455 coming in very well. Ron Hicks, I think Jill ought to do a Brother Stare special one night and have everyone try to tune in Brother Stare while in the show. Oh, God. Brother Stare edition. It's the Shortwave Show Brother Stare edition. Jen Harvey, our International Radio Facebook page, 489 members. If you're a fan of the show and haven't joined yet, why not? And yes, we would love to reach 500. It'd be nice. If you listen to the International Radio Report, you know what? Why not join the page? The Facebook page has a lot of information. So when we talk about stuff, there are links sometimes you want to share, stuff like that. We share it there. And there's a lot of articles and a lot of things about radio news that, 30 minutes passes by so fast. There, we got to make a choice in the news items that we choose from time to time. Yes, there are weeks when we don't know what to talk about and we just find stuff to talk about. But most of the time, there's too much to talk about. And some articles are very lengthy, and we just don't have the time for that on the show. And they are posted on the International Radio Report page. There's actually a lot of very interesting articles there. If you are wondering what's happening in the world of radio around us, there's a lot of very interesting stuff in there that of local stations everywhere, international stations, of radio in general, and how radio changes our lives and lives of others around this planet. Right now, of course, there's an uptick in radio articles that have to do with dealing with what we're all living through. But so join in. If you are a fan of the show, join in. I think you'll be pleasantly pleased with all the content there. Absolutely. Mickey Delmage, 6925 with Sunder, really slow motion, huge signal over there. Wow, okay. And Phillips says 6930 is gone. Keegan has 9455 WRMI S9 Plus. Mickey is in Alberta, Canada. So I have a question for you guys. A very, very important question. Do I have to go and fill this up and continue the show tonight? Or we just end it here? I already know the answer, but I get a kick out of asking the question. Oh, man. Alembic 65, the great college radio stations such as WCBS 89.3 here in Cleveland, CSB, are sorely missed. Campuses shut down. It's like CKUT. Everybody wants me to fill it up. I like that. So we tune the bands, continue talking about the radio. I know, you guys want me to get drunk on the air. You like it when I start ranting when I'm drunk, hey? Let's go for round 2. So, okay. We're already at 2 hours and 20 minutes in the show. Let's, so I'm going to go get my drink. And how about you guys helping me out a little bit here? If you like what I do, why not give me a little donation? Much appreciated. And you know what? I'm here tonight to lift up the spirits of everybody. And I want to make sure that we just change our minds of whatever's happening in our world. So I will fill this up. I will put something that has no music because there's music on the pirate station. Let's put the soothing sounds of the let's see. Let's put the soothing and amazing sounds of Shannon Volmet weather broadcast on 5505. Nothing better than listening to the weather from airports around another country. Here, 3413. They're all weak, but anyways. I'm back in a couple of minutes, guys. I'm going to go fill up my glass. I'm stuck. Yeah. Hello, my radio geeks. Oh, I'm just gonna try to. Ow. So, 3413, Shannon Vomit in Ireland. Not very strong, but it's there. And I'm glad to be here, as usual. Okay, so yes, continue. Fill it up. Get drunk. This is pretty much what everybody's telling me. You need to get drunk. Yeah. You guys. I'm glad to be here. 2 hours and 30 minutes already. Hey, what else we got to do except doing live shows? Huh? What else? And Danny Shortwave, I'm on my third beer and I say fill it up. So cheers. Vodka with blueberry. It's healthy. So you know what? I'm having a healthy lifestyle. Kind of. And no comments on that, okay? James Farley, sing it up. Jacob E. Alice, I can't have any beer. 30 days of quarantine here in El Salvador. Oh, really? Wow. Everybody, everywhere it's like that. Here we're pretty much shut down too, here in Quebec, Canada. Nothing much to do. Even at midnight tonight, the restaurants are all closed except for takeout. Northern Dawn, surprised the vomit is active with all the flights grounded. Well, vomits are automatic stuff. So even if there would be no planes around, I think there would still be vomits because they are just automated and they just leave it as is. It's all automated stuff. The voice is, a computerized voice, and the reports come in kind of computerized. So it's like, there's really not a lot of people taking part of anything. William says, check out Radio Workshop on YouTube, Pirate Radio. My wife and I could listen for him for hours. There's a lot of really nice content. Really a lot of nice content of on I'm gonna, as Sheldon is doing some SSTV, slow scan TV. So I'm gonna put on 6925 upper side man as I hear the music. And we're gonna leave the cannot load from what? Okay, whatever. Maybe just one is enough. I'll leave it on like this. I'll leave it on like this so that if he sends out slow scan TV, we'll be able to see the picture pop up on the screen. Jacob Yalis, forget it. I have some rum and whiskey leftovers from the holidays. Cool. WP4OSQ 5085S9 in Maryland. That's WTWW in Lebanon, Tennessee. Larry Cordy, nice to have you here from New York. John Bobby Burgess, vomit. Now you got me to check Inmarsat aerial activity. It's interesting today. I was out at the park so for those that don't know exactly here, where I live, it's a corridor for airplanes for the airport. So I'm used to having airplanes at certain times of the day. Airplanes are just one after the other. It doesn't stop. And the park where I went to is not that far. So, of course, when you go to the park, you hear all the planes and you see the planes coming in. And I was with a friend, and I was telling him, have you noticed we hear no planes, which is unusual? And in the sky, the blue sky, he was pointing to me at one of the planes, very high altitude planes with the trace. And I said, you notice there's not a lot of them? We're really in times where there's not a lot of planes in the air right now. It was very, very weird. It's actually much stronger. It's getting stronger here. 6925 has actually picked up in strength. Really, really stronger than it was earlier. Mika Delmich, 6925, Victory of Life, Future of World Music at 0225 UT. MDK2, more thumbs up than viewers. I think that's the first. Oh, really? Let's check it out. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's so weird. That is so weird. Oh, man. Uh, 6925 is upper sideband, M. Phillips. Lear Cordy has been a ham since he was 12. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. When I talk about the hobby and I talk about how I did this, without going into details, my teenage years were rough. It was very, very complicated. And sometimes I think that my teenage years were kind of saved from being maybe a bad guy or going astray into other things by the fact that shortwave radio was in my life, and I was receiving letters from all over the world, and I was in my little bubble. And I think a lot of us felt like that. We were in our own bubble as we were young and listening to shortwave. And there's nothing wrong with that. I realized something today. There's a friend of mine, and she was talking about how her kid is she's got a boy. She's got a son that is kind of autistic a little bit, but not too much. He's got his little weird ways, but he's okay. And one day she was talking to me, and she said, we went to school together, and she said, my 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 son reminds me of you. In high school, you were in your bubble, and you went through high school through your bubble. And she said, I am trying to fix that with my son so he doesn't have to live like that. And you know what? I actually told her, I said, maybe there's nothing to fix. Maybe you're the one, or we're the one that's not okay. And I went through high school in my bubble, and I was happy in it. And I was not, because I never was the guy that, we hear of the kid that was bullied in school and stuff like that. I never was a bullied kid. I was never bullied. Although I was 5'9" and pretty large already at that time. So maybe that's why I was not bullied, and I don't understand why. But there was a friend of mine, and that guy was, they were calling him a fag, and they were like really, really hard on him all the time. And in high school, you just kind of, nobody wants to mess up with others. You're already in the social environment that's complicated in high school. So, and it was complicated at home for me. So I was like, I would rarely defend him. Maybe I should have, but I rarely defended him. And I was more in the mood of, or in the way of telling him, why don't you respond back? Why you just accept that it's like that? But obviously, this probably was not the best of the response. And but I was never, I was not the guy that was bullied. And actually, I was the guy who was kind of respected. I was in my bubble, but when I would talk about something, everybody was like listening. And I remember when I did my shortwave radio thing in French class and showing everybody the Radio Moscow letters. I mean, it was like, wow. And I still remember, I'll never forget, when we did our 25th year reunion, about that was like in so 25 years from 1986 was 2011. And one guy came up to me and he says, "Hey, Jill, how are you? Still listening to shortwave?" And I was like, "What? You remember that?" And he says, "I was so amazed at what you showed us in French class, and I still remember the shortwave radio hobby you had." And I said, "Yep, I'm still into shortwave." And it was just crazy. But it came up, and I said, "You know what? Sometimes we gotta slack it off a little bit. It's not because you're different that you're necessarily a problem, or it's a problem. There's, I think, a certain way of being." Over the years that I've been doing live shows and the months that we were talking about, who we are, and I mean, I've shared a lot with you guys of my own life, and some of you opened up in your own life, and it's interesting to see how um, a lot of us were in our little bubble of life, and shortwave radio was my bubble. In electronics, because I loved electronics. So electronics, I had shortwave radio. I had 3 really good friends, and that was enough. I need no more. I didn't need anything else. I was happy, and I was going through my teenage years like that, and it was cool. Keegan 6180 is China Radio International from Cuba, mixed in with Radio Nacional Amazona Brazil. It's almost like that every night. So cheers, everybody. Matt says, ever see the Andromeda's train? The town drunk was one of those immune. Clearly a life lesson to be had here. Slow scan TV, but very weak. Is it decoding anything? It seems to be in Scotty too. But it's just noise. I'm getting almost only noise. I'm not even sure we're going to get text in here. It's definitely it looks like a big coronavirus. Oh man. What is that? Is there going to be at least some text in there? Any of you guys decode this slow scan TV right now? I'd be curious to see what it is. I have the impression of seeing a big coronavirus right now. There's a big round whatever in the noise. So I don't know. Oh, God. What else do we have? Joseph. Very excited to be here, signing in from Northern California. Nice to have you here. My Burgess says Louisiana has a stay-at-home order by our governor. Yeah, here it's like go out for jogging and walking and stuff, but don't go in any other place. William says he's got some spiced rum and here, warm and fuzzy. Yeah, it's cool. And we're having fun with radio. Sheldon Harvey, it was just a short transmission of SSTV 6925, then back to music. I don't know what they tried and what he was actually sending out, but they just had some more slow scan here. Ranjit Dernal, nice to have you here from Nepal. N90001 SWL. Wow, nice to have you here. When I hear Nepal, I don't know why I see the Mount Everest for some reason. Philip Toft, nice to have you here from Texas. 9N001 SWL. Elzebub, nice to have you here from Greenville, South Carolina, the land of the VOA transmissions. Take care, Brian Vagenheimer. MDK2 says, I copied that SSTV. It was an image of the Earth with the caption, Imagine a World. I saw one thing that let's not talk too much about this, but I saw one thing on a post on Facebook that was interesting. The post said, don't forget one thing. Humans need the Earth to live, but the Earth doesn't need humans to live. Which is like, yep, pretty much. That's life. Chuck CP Davis, nice to have you on board. The air is pretty much cleaner everywhere now. That's a good thing, at least. Kema Hain. Nothing these days, very empty skies. No planes, no nothing. So, crazy. William Moser, do non-directional beacons do better on USB or CW? So most of them are heard in AM mode, but USB is good because you can hear the very, very, very weak ones. Brett Wayne says, saved by radio. Yes. Helena Hagman, nice to have you here from Sweden. This is about radio, shortwave radio. We are listening to a pirate station on 6925 kilohertz on shortwave. And we are talking about radio and how radio makes us feel better in these troubled times. Welcome aboard, Helena. Mike Hill, my bubble was radio in high school too. Joseph, having a focus in life is the most important thing. A lot of people think one person's focus is normal and others is weird. If your focus is weird, like radio, that's other people's problem. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joseph, 6925 USB coming in, S5 in the West Coast. So maybe it is a West Coast thing. Radioland says, wow, shortwave listening show and tell presentation in class. They, you know what, Radiolands? They, so what happened is I was in high school, and the French class we had to do a go in front of the class and do a presentation on something we love. Because, usually it's always do a presentation on that or this or that subject. And it's like, okay. But when he said you're going to do a presentation on your favorite thing in life, it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. And you know what? I probably already had the genes or the way of doing things like I do here. I mean, look, 2 hours 45 and I'm talking like crazy. Everybody did a bit on something they loved, but it was always like, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and they didn't know what to talk about anymore. And I still remember everybody did a 5-10 minute bit. I was the first in the class to do it that day because it was a run like several classes because there was like 30 students. And a class lasted was 75 minutes. So French class was 75 minutes. So I went in front. I started talking about shortwave. I had with me my realistic DX 302 with a piece of wire. Tuned in Radio Moscow in French in front of the class where everybody was like, wow. And they heard the ID, Voici la voix de, voici Radio Moscou. This is Radio Moscow. And so that amazed everybody at first. I had a pile of envelopes with cards and letters from around the world that people were actually sharing in class while I was doing my shortwave bit. It lasted 45 minutes out of the 75-minute class. When I ended, the French teacher got up, looked at me, and says, you know what? I'm just going to tell you right now, you got 96% for this presentation. So congratulations. And I was the only one that did something like, so I was probably born to talk for hours at a time. Because I was the only, and I was really, after there was nobody else did that. I was the only guy that talked for actually 45 minutes. And I would have gone on. But, it's like it stopped there. And people were asking questions. It was crazy. So I think I was born to do this type of stuff. Talk in front of people and stuff. So, Pirate Station 6925 Upper Sideband still going on. Oh, way before the internet. Absolutely. Jacoby says alcohol is starting to do the job. Mike Hill, shortwave is now how I learned about the world and the days before shortwave, before the internet. Yeah, absolutely. Same for here. Scott Branson, nice to have you here from North Carolina. KD4NZJ. Nikki Dalmage, 6925 SSTV, big signal at 0240. Larry Cordy, as a youth, I always thought electronics was my future. I ended up in the wine and liquor industry. Never predicted that. I loved electronics. I went into college and applied sciences. Realized that it was a hell of a job to learn all of that, and I had no more life. And then I went into computer science. Then shortwave high school, I was a lot into radio, rocketry, and art and building models, especially military. I had military posters, especially aircraft. People would say I was a weird. You know what's interesting? All the people that made something really, really special with their lives so I'm going to be a little. I don't want to offend anyone, and I don't want to maybe say something that isn't what everybody wants to. But here's the thing. I think all of us that, for some reason, were a little out of the ordinary and kind of weird. What happened is a lot of us went into doing great things with our lives. People that going. Imagine. I was looking at a documentary. The farthest journey. That is the documentary of the Voyager spacecrafts. I look at these people. They're weird people that are going nuts over a spacecraft. But when you look at that, you identify yourself as, I am weird in my own thing that I really love and have a passion for. And I think people that are like that are more intense, and that sometimes we might just be categorized as weird people, are the ones that have the greatest careers in our lives. We have something going for that no one else will ever do. The rest will be in more regular jobs. I mean, we need people in every category of jobs, and no job is a bad job. I mean, there are bad jobs because of what people have to do for it. But I mean, if you're working, and it's already something that, whatever you're doing in life. I mean, I look at the guys that pick up the trash. It's like, we need people that pick up trash. And I mean, we need somebody to do it, and it's a job, and it's amazing that you do it. Thanks for doing it. But I think when we get into a weirdness or feel that we are apart, a lot of the people that are like that are more open to getting interesting jobs in very, very unique ways. And sometimes, being weird is not necessarily something that you're that is a problem. Hey, with Beast Productions, no talk about anything from the virus tonight. It's nice to have you here, with Beast. John O'Neill, nice to have you here from Ireland. Matambale, nice to have you on board. Unalman, Show 241 Music. WP4OSQ, where's Voice of America these days? Well, there's a lot of broadcasts from Voice of Americas. You just need to tune in at the right time. I was just mesmerized by the music. Tells me something. I heard that music before. Voice of America mostly broadcasts now to Africa and different parts of the world. One of the broadcasts that's quite easy is 11720 at, what is it, around 21 UT, 22 UT. There's 15580 from Botswana that comes in quite well in the afternoon, depending on where we are. But they do have a lot of they still have an extensive broadcast schedule in many languages. Yeah, Keegan, that's exactly it. Radio Nacional Amazona and China Radio, both on the same frequency. Absolutely. Woodbeast Production. What's SSTV? SSTV is what we call slow scan television. It's a digital mode where we can decode a picture out of audio frequencies. So when they send that audio sound, we actually can. So I use a software called SSTV on my PC here that that actually is capable of decoding that. And so it's a mode that's mostly for amateur radio. And basically we have the decoding of pictures with the frequencies that are sent out. What else do we have? But life has this weird way of bringing us into different areas of our lives, and changing our lives also, and whatever. What else do we have? Mike Hill did a presentation on shortwave in speech class in college. I described how much you could learn from other countries. That's true. Sheldon Harvey says, Jill, we should have a contest. Which one of the two of us can talk the longest? Tonight, Sheldon versus Jill. Who will stay up and still be there talking? You'll find out after the news at 6. Oh, God. That'd be interesting. I think we have that, Sheldon, we have that easy quality of being able to just go, I mean, look at you and me doing the International Radio Report. I mean, even if we ran out of stories to talk about, we'd talk about radio. It wouldn't even be difficult to fill whatever time left. And there's it's something I don't know. I never thought about it, but I never thought about Mickey. Don't make me laugh, Mickey. So this is there's an inside joke in here, guys. Sorry, between me, Mickey, Sheldon, and me. So I had no confidence in myself back when I was in high school. So it was cool to see that people were listening to me, but I never thought that, that I'd be doing this today. I never thought I'd be doing 3-hour shows. I mean, we're at 3 hour now. 3 hours. 3 hours. So, it's crazy. Matt says, when you look at Bill Gates as a younger guy, it's very hard to imagine him being the king of... Yeah, but he's a hard guy. Bill Gates, I've read a lot about Bill Gates, and Bill Gates is a big asshole. Honestly. He was not hesitant at exploiting what he had in front of him to make cash, and the people that whatever did the job. And Windows came to be and DOS came to be with a marketing strategy that is that's not what I find very nice. But hey, it's life, and that's the way things work. But apart from the fact of his philanthropy stuff, that yeah, okay, it's nice. He promises that before he dies, he'll spend pretty much all of his cash in helping the world. Cool. That's very beautiful. That's a very beautiful thing. Bill Gates, at the basics, is a big asshole. Honestly. Geely, nice to have you on board. Oh, absolutely. Mike Hilt. General public has almost no knowledge of shortwave. Honestly, almost no knowledge. Even back then, we talk about how well nobody knows about shortwave today. I mean, I was in high school in 1980. I did my lecture in 1985. 1985. And shortwave was more popular in 1985 than it is today. Okay? Except for our us old geezers. uh, I mean, I would have expected someone in 1985 in the class of 30 some kids to say, oh, my uncle listens to this, or my whatever. And even in 1985, I understood one thing. What I was doing as a hobby, no one, no one knew about it. No one knew it existed at all. The fast load that is in the chat room from time to time? Back then, we didn't know each other. I know fast load, what, 10 years? About 10 years, 10, 12 years. We knew each other at the karaoke bar that we go to here. And I knew, we didn't, me and Fastlow didn't talk for we didn't talk for the first 3 or 4 years we see each other. I couldn't, I'll say it like this. I couldn't stand Fastlow at the time in the way that he was presenting himself. But then we started talking for some reason. SSTV, Slow Scan TV. I'm not decoding anything. Not decoding anything. It's a little too strong. Go here. Yeah, there's kind of a sphere or something again. So it's one day we start talking about computers, and then we start talking about and I do radio stuff, and I understand that he's been listening to shortwave in a long time. He's abandoned, and he doesn't even know that it still exists and that people are still interested. And that I brought Fastload back to radio because he suddenly had somebody that was interested in radio. He wasn't alone anymore. So there's a big circle in that thing, which looks like probably the Earth or something, but it's too noisy to really have a nice picture. So it's I didn't know anything about, and I was in shortwave, but nobody knew anything about radio, even in 1985. So imagine today, how can you have somebody today talk about radio when you know what? When nobody, oh man, that's strong. 4101 lower sideman. Thank you, first token. Wow, really good this one. 4101 lower sideman is another pirate. This is very cool. And we're having a cool night, guys. 3 hours and 4 minutes. Cheers. So, I don't know what pirate that is. Deborah Cooper, nice to have you here from California. Nice surprise to see you online. Yeah, Sunday night fun. Dirty Diaper 21, nice to have you here, Dirty Diaper. Stay safe, absolutely, in South Carolina. Woodbeast Production, do you know Joe sings great? Thanks, man. So we have, let's try to go down and as fast as we can. Join in. James Farley, yes, 48101 and New Jersey. Cool. Iro Protagonist, first time to catch your live stream. How long are the shows usually? There's no set time for the shows here. The average is 3 hours. Most of the time, I go for a 3-hour run. But it's a show that has no time limit. That means it could last 50 minutes, which it never did. I don't think it lasts usually, even in the worst circumstances, it never really lasts less than 2 hours. And our record-breaking show is what, 5 hours and 30 minutes? So, let's do a 24-hour. It's time to do a 24-hour. No, joking. Don't get me there. But 3 hours is usually pretty much how it lasts. There's a lot of things that go into how long it lasts. If I'm tired, what do we talk about? Having fun. What the interaction with the chat room and so on. William Moser, what is your go-to weather radio? Well, I do have a Uniden weather radio that is just for that. But for some reason, when I use a weather radio, I use one of my scanners and just press the weather button most of the time. Joe Summerton US says, if you got tired speaking about radio, then you go to sleep doing shortwave listening. Matt, 4101 lower sideband, pretty good. SIO 344. Danny Shortwave, even back then, no one around my circle knew anything shortwave radio or even RAM radio. Yeah, it's that obscure thing. And even when it was more popular, it was still that weird, obscure thing, honestly. First token in high school, we had a ham radio club, had about 35 to 40 members with a graduating class. Wow. Radio Lens asks a fantastic question of where do we get our radios? We pretty much don't have any place in Montreal for radio now, honestly. And if I buy my stuff online. Honestly, I buy my stuff online. My ICOM CRD 500 I bought from Radio World in Toronto. There used to be a couple of good places in Montreal, and it's surprising that a city like Montreal, which is a pretty big city, doesn't have at least one place to buy ham stuff or radio stuff in general. Pretty much everything I buy now is online. WNW? Did he say it's WNW? That's what I heard. WNW. That's what I heard. Radioactive, send me the decode. Check it out here. Okay. It had that round circle, but it was too noisy for me to really get in there. But nice. You are the light of the world, that your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Wow, it's a religious pirate, kind of. So this is what it looked like. It did look like that, but without the kind of interesting. And I've got Mixed Radio International that commented on my XFM video of yesterday saying, "Hey, Jill, thank you for tuning into my relay of XFM. I enjoy your YouTube shows." So I guess more pirates than we think are actually watching this show. That'd be nice if we could set up a pirate ring of audio of my show soon. Just a hint here. Wink, wink. Radio Verdad 4055. Yep, I could actually see the trace. 4055 Radio Verdad in Guatemala. You know, Radio Verdad is roughly about 700 watts. It's a very weak station when you check it out, and it's surprising how good they can be sometimes. They're not very strong. What else do we have? Sheldon Harvey, interesting. 40101. Zeki's Attic Pirate is better on my random wire than my MLA30 loop. That's interesting. That is interesting, Sheldon, actually. That's why you need to have both antennas up. Because in some cases it's possible. It could be the orientation of the loop also. So here, if I try it, so I've got 3 loops here. I'm on my original, let's try it out here. That's the original MLA30. This is my W6 LVP. And this is my MLA30 Plus. It's noisier. It's actually, in this case, it seems to be better on my W6 LVP, very expensive loop on that frequency. So, it tells you how it's interesting to see how the W6 LVP loop doesn't shine much most of the time, but sometimes it's interesting because in some specific frequencies, and they're all oriented the same right now. Matambali tonight, much QRN. Last night was good. A good night. 40 meters, below 40 meters most of the time. Quite in good conditions. Mike Hill, Universal Radio in Ohio is still a good source for radios and other electronics. Matt says it's strange. I think HRO, Ham Radio Outlet, is the only chain shop for ham stuff around, and they're not everywhere you'd expect. I consider myself lucky to have one where I live. Keegan says 4101 lower sideband S5 Plus in Northwest Arkansas. First token, Universal is where I bought my last R8600. Here for new stuff, you got to have a Canadian source because if I buy an R8600, for example, from Universal, the exchange rate going to bring that amount to a really high. Plus, I'll have to pay the taxes. it's going to be so high that it's like it's it's crazy. Frank Zappa, you just mentioned. Ringland says that would be great. A pirate guest chatter in your show. You know what? What's so funny is about a year ago, we were chasing pirates. We had a special pirate show, and we were chasing pirates. And we were chasing pirates, and somebody says, "Hey, I hear your voice." And one of the pirates actually broadcast my whole 3 hour show, just the audio, and it was like, wow, okay, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. So that means a lot of people are listening to my show. We talk about who's listening in and who's there, and I see when I have a pirate that does that, it's like, there's more people listening to the show than you actually think. A lot of people never say hi or never are in the chat room, but actually do listen in, and it's crazy. I have Jasmine here that sent a message today, and saying that never really interacts with the chat room, but wanted to say hi and listening in. So it's pretty crazy. It's really fun. Mike Hill, Guilford Radio name was from his wife, maiden name Gillespie, and his name Farrell. Guilford. Oh, Gillespie. Huh? Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That would be a nice trivia. Take note of that, Sheldon. Guilford Radio comes from the wife's maiden name, Gillespie and Farrell. That's a really good trivia question. Just read it on the Google Shortwave group. Okay. Here in Canada, Radio World, I think everybody that wants to order radios from somewhere here in Canada is pretty much Radio World. HF Radio. Sheldon, do you still sell radios? Because Sheldon used to be a seller of radio. But I don't know. Are you still interested in being there and doing this? That's the other question. Because I'm I don't know exactly where you are right now. If a radio HF is still something that that for you is interesting. Kevin Wood, nice to have you here from Nova Scotia, Canada. John Bolton, nice to have you here. Posey Pepis Diaz, just tuned 4101 S7. Yes, this is a pirate radio. Zeke's Attic, pirate radio. Zeke's Attic, pirate radio. No decode. Decode number 3. True Blue. Here's decode number 3, thanks to our friend Radioactive. So this is nice. Kind of interesting to see everybody checking it out. So Sheldon RV, Radio HF has more or less one down. Long story, too long for here. Yeah, that's okay. Just asking because we're just I was just wondering. Actually, I asked because I was talking about like Radio World and stuff like that, but I would rather talk about Radio HF if Radio HF was still doing it. But if it's one down, pretty much, it's okay. It's okay. Got no problem with that. Dan V, nice to have you here. N8WJZ from Ohio. You know, guys, it's 11:20 p.m. here. It's late at night on a Sunday. Oh, that's a nice one. That one looks nice.